Hello everyone. Today's lessons will be from Class 7 English Honeycomb, Chapter 5 Quality. This story is about the very talented and hardworking German shoemakers, the Gessler brothers. He thon thu hi German unau phekok siam thiam em an ei zon na konga teima a rin ombok si Gessler brothers unau te chanchin ania. The author knew the Gessler brothers since childhood, as his father used to get his boots made by them. The brothers owned a shop in a small by-street in a fashionable part of London at the time. He thu ziak tu hian Gessler brothers te kha no pangte ni lai changin alo she to chin ani a chan chu apa khan an hne na phekok a siam tir chin wang ani ti chuan Gessler brothers te khan khati hun laia Londona Veng chang kang taka kotler pakhata doran nei chinani. The shop was a bit different from the other shop. There was no sign upon it other than the name Gessler Brothers in the window of the shop. There were only a few pair of boots on display. The Gessler brothers made only what was ordered, and the boots made by them never failed to fit, and they lasted very long. The author thought the boots made by the Gesslers were mysterious and wonderful. Gessler brothers te dor khan dor dang lakachanga dang lamna big riawaneya chung te chu an dora khan an ming Gessler brothers ti kha an tara thil dang in fakna te le kha tiang vel kha an tar version lawani tin an dor tuk vera khanin an phekok siam sa tlem zong hi an pho chuak ve boka hi phekok te kha ordered ang customer ten an ron order ni lo khachu a shan pai in shal turan siam ngai lem lawani an phekok siam te kha atlo ema tin bun an nuam boka I aziak tu pa phei chuanin an phekok te kha a soifia thiam dan bera chuan makle danglam ti khan a soifia dan ani. One day, the author asked Mr. Gessler while stretching out his foot to him if making boots was awfully hard to do. One day, the author asked Mr. Gessler while stretching out his foot to him if making boots was awfully hard to do. With a sudden smile from out of the redness of his beard, Mr. Gessler answered in his thick German accent that it was an art. Nikhatsu heton tuziak tu hianin Mr. Gessler phekok siam tir tura avakalanin te vel lai khanin Mr. Gessler ne na khanin Mr. Gessler phekok siam hi har savial lo moti in anzota Mr. Gessler chuan thil danga chang lovin a mui mulsen ther thurkara changaron nui var pa chuan a German opoidik takme chuan it was an art pian pui thiamna thiamna chikhatani ve a ati. The author says that it was not possible for anyone to go and order boots from Mr. Gessler very often because the boots he made lasted very long. He believed the shoes had something in them which made them last longer. Tin he thuziak tu hianin Mr. Gessler ne na khanin phekok siam tir tura vakal fo khathil thei anilawa achan chu Mr. Gessler phekok siam te kha antlo ema rei taka dei china wangin phekok tharan mamo me ngai lawa chu wang Mr. Gessler khawa mu fo thei khani lawani I aziak tu pa hianin I arindan phei chuanin Mr. Gessler hian a phekok siama te khanin atlo na tur engemo atel ni hialin aringani. The experience in the shop was quite different from other shops. One has to wait in the shop by sitting restfully and comfortably in a single wooden chair as if one enters a church. Tin andor dang lamle na pakhachu Mr. Gessler na boy pui man ma a anlo nga anlo chut na tur kha thinga siam chair oma chu ta an han thu chu a ha dam thla ka tin biak in chung valut ang me nan dor chung bo ra kha azang khaya athamwan thla ka ne. Mr. Gessler would attend to his customer in his regular work clothes, with sleeves turned back, without a coat and in leather apron. He would blink rapidly as if he had been awakened from some dream of boots. Tichuan dor danga chuanin I dor ngak tu te an customer te lo dong song tu tur te kha I moi nai de win an in sei china ni amero chu Mr. Gessler ve thung chu an na tho thom no pa ngai ha in a korban an theple tanga kor chung po halem lawin leather apron a shenga ti chuan a customer turte an local khanin hi abut siam le turte swang to an khovela changa ron har hlol ni om takhan an khap deu sak china ni customer te mu khan. Without even saying a word, Mr. Gessler would go to the other part of the shop and would soon come back with a piece of gold-brown leather in his hand. His eyes were fixed on them, admiring the beautiful piece. When the author admired it too, he would speak again, asking the author when he would want his order. The author would tell him that as soon as he conveniently can. That's one Mr. Gessler khanin a customer te kha biak chunjom lem lawin dor pindan le lama kalsana nga hi rang takin akuta savun andut khan tur ron keng chuak chung khanin aron let le china ni ti chuan a savun akuta aken te kha a thlir ngoi zel me ni moya tia cha tia adu em chin me ni ti chuanin chongna chang me po kha cha chin lawa hi author azyak tu pa ina moya ti vezia thu te an soi nu khan Mr. Gessler kha aron chong chuak le chawa engti ka nge phekok order hi imamong engti khuna nge iduang ti nan zota ti chuanin azyak tu pa hian an chang vele a iman rem chan vele a the hun rem chang masabira ani me ti in an chang vele china ni. When the author would thank him and greet the shoemaker, Mr. Gessler would do the same, still looking at the leather in his hand. Order ten ti fela lom thu ten hanin shila chibeten in book nu an hadin biak lai po chuan Mr. Gessler khan akuta asavun ken kha asavun ken atang khan amit kha alel son lei thei chin lawani. One day, the author told Mr. Gessler about the last pair of boots which creaked. Mr. Gessler looked at him for a long time without replying, as if expecting him to take back his statement or to modify it. When the author didn't do so, Mr. Gessler accused the author of getting them wet before he put them on. However, the author rejected this possibility. Nikhatsu azyak tu pa hi Mr. Gessler te dor avakal tumin a pheikhok le nun berka hi hanbun hianin ri oma hi kalzonga hansik deu enga mokhatiang kha a om thu shilani. Mr. Gessler khanin chupa chu an melwanga a thu soi te la le tamo tidang lam tura be sing ni om takhan chong lawin an mel deu wangani ma se engma hi author khan hi asoi vetak silawa chuan Mr. Gessler khanin mo puril ru ti sha deu tak chung khan ibun ma in iti hu ani lo mo antile trala ma se author azyak tu pa hian chutiang engthil ma athlen lo thuin alo chang let ve boka. Mr. Gessler lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots. Mr. Gessler looked sad and the author felt bad for mentioning such a grave thing. Then the shoemaker told the author to bring the boots back to him and find a fault in them. He continued slowly that some boots are bad since the starting of their manufactures, and if he can't do anything with them, he promised to take them off his bill. Tichuan Mr. Gessler chuanin kha abut soi sel asiam lai hunvel ngei twa let le ni om tak chuan noi lam chu an bi wanga azyak tu pa hianin Mr. Gessler hlim lo mel shi om ti mel mu khan hi chu thil alo soi chuak ta kher chu ai in chira shi om ati ni tichuanin hi phekhok siam tu pa chuanin hi azyak tu pa ne na khan ole hani chuan phekhok churon keng let le la adik lo na lai a chat lo na lai te hi ka lo zong chuak le don ania atia chuan muang chang in tian an soi chun zoma phekhok chen khat te hi chu siam tir tanga fu lo lak lo hi an om ve reng ania chuwan chuan kan lo en chalenga engma ka ti theilo ka siam tha theilo ni chuan phekhok man min pek to kha ka pelet le don chenia ti in an shil le ta ni dor chen khata chuan thil le to hi thleng te chu soilo kan va complain a soi selenga molai kan nei de pon I min hial an diklo na lai te an pom du lo chin ni amai ro chu Mr Gessler ve thung chuan a thil siam kha fu tok lo chalo lai om na na kha chuan poisa choya ama in sian so po kha poia tilawani a customer te du thu samang ani lo kha chuan. Once the author absent-mindedly went into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large farm. Mr. Gessler took his order without showing him any leather as he was busy studying the inferior covering of his foot. Mr. Gessler finally said that those boots were not made by him. His tone was not one of anger, not even contempt, but he sounded so emotionless that the author was terrified. Voi kha chu he thu jiak tu pa hi dor danga changa phei khok I laklo thil thua a le kha mi bun chung khan Mr Gessler a dora khan phei khok order turin avakalani chumdang ang lo takin Mr Gessler khan in I leather sample khang savun te poron entir lo khan order kha alam mop me ni achan chu a customer mo amaron dor chin tu pa ina phei khok mundanga changa I ale aron bun ringot kha aril khan aril ru alu ani Mr Gessler khan topa chuan I phei khok bun lai kha ka dora changa I le ke ma siam chu ani hau lo me an ti bowa a o ka chua kha thin rim po ni chuang lo I musit na le en hiam na po ani chuang lo a o kha chua kha a hul mawang khanin I author khanin shi omatia a o ka chua khan ati hlau hial ni author ka mo. Then he pressed a finger at the left boot, specifically where the author was not finding the boot comfortable. The shoemaker then told the author that the spot he was touching was hurting him. The Mr. Gessler chu azukun hiama I author phei khok bun veilam pang chu an zukhoya author ina bun nuam lo ti lai kha zukhoi fu chat me ni ti chuan Mr Gessler chuan hetilai thianin I ke no dewani mo hetilai hi bun tinuam lo tu tur deu chu ni azuk ti chat me ni anna a khan athil ei zon na khan achiang le ti kha Mr Gessler kha alang chiang le ni. Then he began speaking about the conditions and the hardships of his trade. He complained that the big firms had no self-respect. It was the first time the author had heard him discuss something so personal about his business. The Mr. Gessler chu tong chun zomin adin muntele sum don na ina har sat na to chung chang te chu an soi chun zoma heng big firms company lian ho hianin I an za om na te an ming chat na tur lam reng hi an ngei twa lo zia te an soi chun zoma Mr Gessler an khatianga I asum don na mi mal lu tuk thil a soi chwa kha I aziak tu pa hian a hriat voi khatna ani nge ni. Mr Gessler continued to say that the large firms paid more attention to the quantity of money rather than the quality of the products. Their advertisement was more attractive than their work. People get easily attracted to these large firms. The Mr Gessler chuan soi chun zomin heng company lian le dor lian te hianin until zor le siam chwate a chat le chat lo lam ain an sum mutur an lok da tur bak an ngei tua ngai lo ziate asoya until siam chwa chu atak aya try in fak moi na te mo advertisement te an han siama chung an fak moi na hi an fak na te chuan mi puya hi ple jok zia thu te chu asoi tel bokani. Hence, the large companies took away all his customers because of the advertisements. Presently, he had no work and was suffering financially because of this. He also mentioned that every year his work got less and less and that it would soon affect him badly. Ti chuan chung company lian ti chuan an advertisement fakna an siam te mangkhanin Mr Gessler dor chin to a customer te kha an lak bo zo to thule Mr Gessler khan tun din huna phei chuanin na thom tur mumal phei khok siam tur ron order mumal po mu to ngai lo thu te chu chuanin asum din mun po na sataka ati chha thu te asoya tin kum tinin na tho tur anei tlem tial to thu te chu chuan na sataka angong zia thu te kha asoi tel bokani. As best as he could, the author tried to explain the reason behind buying those shoes, but the facial expression and tone of the shoemaker had made such a deep impact on the author that he couldn't help but order so many pairs during the next few minutes that he didn't need to visit him for the next 2 years. The chuan he thu ziak tu pa hianin a phei khok ron bun chu mundanga man mo thil thua laklo thil thua a lei chan te chu a thiam ang to kin Mr. Gessler ne na khan an soifia ve boka am mai ro chu Mr. Gessler mel mang te le a okki a chang te khan Mr. Gessler ra ril ruput mang tur kha avasya thiam puya kha khan a thon thu ziak tu pa author hi she omati le tira kha wang khan pinit rei lo te chungin author hianin pei khok per enga muzat Mr. Gessler ne na khan a order nem em awang khan pei khok le ngai lovin kumni chuang a om thei phani. After many months, the author visited the shop again. This time, he thought it was the elder Gessler's brother who was handling the leather. But when the author greeted Mr. Gessler and asked about his well-being, Mr. Gessler came closer and told him that he was fine, but his elder brother was dead. The author was much shocked to see how aged and elderly he had become. The chuan thlatam taknuwa chuan author aziak tu pa hi Mr. Gessler dora chuan akal le chawani. The chuan Mr. Gessler dora avakal chu author khanin tun chum chu au pazo ka ni mo min lo dong songa ka mamote min lo ngai to sak tu tur chu atini mase chibeiten hanin buka chanchin ten han inzota Mr. Gessler abul naya aron kal nai khanin he chu ka cha mase ka uwe ro chu aboral to ani ti an soya an en chian khan Gessler upazo ka ni lawin anau pangzo ka ni alo biak renga khati kha shani achan chu Mr. Gessler no pangzo ka kha alo upasot ema a mai te lo chwarna se to a author aziak tu pa hianin ador chin phone ni ma se an mule thut kha a hailek lekani. The author felt so bad for the shoemaker that he ordered several pair of boots. They came after a long time. However, the quality was better than ever. They were so good that one simply could not wear them out. Soon after the author received the boots, he went aboard. Khatiag Mr. Gessler alaw tar sod lu tukte a unaw pa asun thute an shat khanin aziak tu pa hian Mr. Gessler kha a khongaya poyati puya ti chuanin butam tak a order ti kan soi kha a but order te kha aron zo har me tun chum chu masi aron thlen me chuanin author khan a phe khok order te chuan han en vela an cha ema ma zong aya a phe khok order chin te ain an tha zong ni na shiani ti chuan phe khok adon nu lok chuan he thuziak tu hi ramdanga azin bo tawang wangani. After a year, the author was back again in London. The first shop the author went was Mr. Gessler's, whom he considered his old friend. But the shoemaker's appearance had completely changed. He started looking like 75 years old at the age of 60. Mr. Gessler looked very thin and tired. He couldn't even recognize the author. Mr. Gessler asked the author if he wanted any boots. He added that he could make them quickly. The author requested Mr. Gessler to make boots of each kind. The chuan kumte lovin hu chuan aziak tu pa author po hi London lama aron hole tani azin na tangkhan ti chuan ador tlo masak per chu amingai na chian anga angai Mr. Gessler dor khani mase dor watheng chu Mr. Gessler kha alandan kha alo danglam em ni kumsom rukmi ni si khan kumsom sari pangamel apu in asya a chair buka tin a chau mel ngoi ama kha asya na te po alo chato lawa amu fo chin ama dor reng chin tu author aziak tu pa po kha atir chuan alo hai ani alo she to lawani ti chuan Mr. Gessler chuan in buta momo empty te azota rang taka siam sakte in tiama ti chuan in aziak tu pa po khan Mr. Gessler ne na khanin but shang te a order le ta ni. The author was taking a lot of time to arrive, so the author had given up on those boots. However, the boots arrived in the evening that day. The author tried each and every boot he had received. In shape and fit, in finishing quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. He went downstairs, wrote a check and posted it at once with his own hands. This one a peacock siam tir te ka alo thleng harati Mr. Gessler khan a peacock order te ka a siam sakle talo zo ka mon le ti in angai to man hialani maset lai kha chu chunga peacock order te chu aron thleng ta lo meya aziak tu pa hianin peacock lo thleng te chu pakhate te in an bun chin vela a fit mo te a pian zia te le a leather a savun quality te kha engkim me kha cha em ve ka ni social na tur lai reng kha a shelawa alom em ani ti chuan man mo takin in hnuai lama tlan thla a I peacock man te chu an ziak fela check ti chuan in ama nge in peacock man te chu Mr. Gessler ne na chuan avathon ta ni. A week after the author had received his boots, he passed a little street where Mr. Gessler's shop was located. The author felt like going to the shoemaker to praise his work. When he reached the shop, he saw that the shoemaker's name was not there anymore. The author was much disturbed to see this and went into the shop. Ti chuan a peacock dona changa a car le a chuanin he thu jak tu pa hi Mr. Gessler te dor omna lampang venga khan ni khachu akalani ti chuanin Mr. Gessler a peacock siam te a chat zia te vashila lom thu shila a dora va len lu kha atumani mase dora va thlen chuanin Gessler brothers ti an dora in tarchin kha alo om ta ho lo me ni ti chuan makati ema enge thil om zia ti shat tumin dor chunga chon alut ta thwai ani. Inside the shop, there was a young Englishman instead of Mr. Gessler. When the author asked for Mr. Gessler, the young man told him that they had taken over the shop as Mr. Gessler was dead. The author was shocked. He couldn't believe what he had just heard, as he had received some boots from Mr. Gessler just last Wednesday week. Ti chuan dor chunga chuan avaluta Mr. Gessler mel hu tu reng om lawa ama lo dong song tu chu sap tlangwal pakhat leno pan mel takhi alo omani ti chuanin author hianin khuyange Mr. Gessler a inga tige dor ha lo ti te anzota ti chuan chu tlangwal chuanin an dor kha an mani in an enkol to thule Mr. Gessler a boral to thu kha alo shil ta me ani ti chuan author kha makatia a thong em ni khat langwal thu soi kha a oi lo hial zo kani achan chu karmasa ni lai me khan Mr. Gessler ne na changin boot a order te adonga ama nge in poisa te po avathon chau kha ani sia Mr. Gessler a thi thu kha pom har sa ti ni. The young man started explaining what had happened. He told the author that Mr. Gessler starved himself. It happened because of how he would walk. He would keep the shop on, but he wouldn't let anyone touch the boots except himself. When he got an order, he would take too much time to make and deliver them. So he worked day and night and never gave himself time to eat. Mr. Gessler chan chin chu hetiang hian an soi chun zomani a thi chan ber chu real chama thi ani ber mei a chan chu an tho awang hianin hi cho a mu mal man lawa hi dor hi midang kuta hlane mo a phal si lawatin I atara a che te alo muang to a peacock pakhat siam chung po hun re tak amomo chuti chung chuanin midang siam tir amo pui tak nial po adu lo na zong kha amana tho adu boxia hi chu wang chuan chhun zan zomin phekhok siamin a hun manga cho e hun takyal po anei lawa chu wang chuan real chamin a thi ani ber me a thuk te po hi me ati al lo na chin hi kan she thei to lo ati ni. He would spend all his money on rent and leather, but not on food. According to the young man, it was surprising to see someone so old live so long without food. He was someone who had a unique character, but he made good boots. Tichuanin an soi chun zom lea pei khok man a mu achang a mu poisa te po hi dorlo amanatan te le savun leinan a mang zo zela savun te po mantlom de ulei ai chuan a chaber zel hi a thlang tlata chuwangin khol tur po nei lawa tin choleinan te ama in enkol nan te e tur chleinan te khanin hi poisa a mang ngai lawani atin hi tin chu baka chu e mumal lawa khatia ang hi tar to kum upa khati chen adam thei kha hi khatlangwa khan makati thu te po ashil tel bokani tin Mr. Gessler rakha mi zedang lam tak mak tak me nei ania ma se abut siam te ro hi chu an thathlot ani ti in asoya tin author po khanin abut siam te an that zia kha hi alo thlopa alo soipui ve bokani. The Gessler brothers, throughout the story, remained true to themselves and their work, even if they suffered heavy losses at the end. The Gessler brothers made the best boots in London. They did not compromise with the quality of their work for the sake of earning more. Gessler brothers te kha abula changa atop thlenga an chansin kan share khanin an ngai dan te an rin dan te len pop an pom dana te an ding het thlata lok lo don de po ni se acha thei ang ber quality chabera hi an na te kha tho an dua lok na le sum tam tak ain hi ang customer te ti loma an mani na ming chat na ne kha an thlang tlatani. Okay, that will be all for the lesson today.